Hi, this is XM-02, a show where I take a look at some gunpla and see how authentic they are. This time, we are looking at the RE100 Dena Gay. XM-02 Dena Gay is the support and attack mobile suit for the Crossbone Vanguard, the main military force of Space Babylon. While it would sound a bit contradictory for the Nangay to be support and attack mobile suits, Crossbone Vanguard redesigned mobile suit combat from the ground up with the invention of beam shield. While their mainline unit, the XM-01, the 9th Soul, would hold up the front line, the Denangale with its ranged weapon could go into support, and as such, they are not as heavily weighed down as the 9 Souls, so they are better at performing strafe ones. For example, I'll be rating this kit based on saga, style, action, gimmick, and absence. Style is how much does the kit resemble its counterparts in anime, manga, games, or other media. I have to say, despite being the very first gunpla of the Nangale, Bandai had resisted the urge to update it to be more lanky, like Gundam here. Now this is not completely 100% like the Robo Tamashi, Ver Anime, or Koala thick type of design, but it is a lot more faithful compared to the modern typical HG kit that you will get. Having said that, RE100 is typically more faithful towards their original design, like the Nightingale or Sakuto FZ. They are less of the modern Gundam slimmer scale, but a bit more chunky, even compared to modern MG kits. So this is not out of ordinary for the line, but the construction of the Nangale is a bit different. Older RE100s have this universal polycap socket or nut pretty much go onto all the joints. But for the Nangale, it's a lot more like the modern HG where there's no polycap in this kit at all. Being a 1:100 also means it gets a bit more color separation. Starting from the head, you don't really see a lot of seam lines, except for the back of the helmet frill pretty much. On the front or the side, all of the part separations are either hidden or natural color separation. The only real oddity are the antennas. They are one giant piece, or even for 1:100, with a lot of sculpts in it, so the back of it have some hollow. Not saying I don't like the way they do it here, but it is definitely leading to some speculations. Anyways, the eyes having a silver sticker behind clear plastic, that is definitely the best ways to do mobile suits eyes, and with the larger size it captures the lights much better. You can also see very detailed sculpt at the rebreather. A bit hard to see, but the Falcon guns on the head, they actually have a separate color piece, although that's kind of common for HG these days. But yeah, back of the head, You don't see it often, so one seam line, it's acceptable, I guess. The chest, you can see a tiny seam line on either side, but otherwise the straps on the side pretty much covers everything else. You do have a separation for a chest piece, which I guess we still get on HG these days, but earlier, older HGs definitely would have them on stickers. You also have color options here if you want a gray one. Unit dependent, not strictly for team leader or anything, but I choose the red one because it complements the red fence a lot better. On the side of the hip, you actually have vents and apogee motors on the side. I don't think we will miss this feature on modern HG, but larger size definitely help realizing them. Otherwise, just simply sculpted waist section. Skirts pretty typical, at least for RE100, pretty much the same as HG, except you have detailed sculpts on the underside. Not that HG wouldn't have them, but definitely could be skipped at times. The thigh, pretty much the same as modern HG, with a joint, and then the thigh itself. Interestingly enough, this is a left-right clamshell instead of front-back, but it worked because the original D9 gauge design has the embezzle or assembly line already, so it looks natural. Knee joint has a bit of sculpts on the side, but otherwise pretty plain. Again, pointing to something. Inside of the knee, featureless, with a bit of reinforced rib, nothing special really. The lower legs wouldn't be a surprise on, say, HG to have separate front facing plate. The original D9 Gale design doesn't have these separations, but they look natural enough, I guess. That is pretty fine. And for the ankle armor, we actually have color separation for the fuel pipes for the apogee motors. So we got 3 colors just for the ankle armor. That is definitely something helped by the larger size. Modern HG can do it, but more likely than not, it would still be in either the lighter gray or the green. And then on the side, you have pretty much the thrusters for the foot. It has a lot more parts than you would expect from a 1 to 144. You got some color separation for the ankle joint, and then the armor bits and the thrusters. You also got a separate plate for the extra thrusters. Again, something only 1 to 100 can afford. Not that Bandai can't do it in 1 to 144. We definitely have these in RG, but for HG, it would be a lot to ask. Down to the foot, once again, we got color separation for the could be also of transmissions, now that I think about it. And you can even see them near the heel. The heel, at least on this side, is one piece, and then you can see the toes are on top of something. But otherwise, the toes are a single large cast with the top of the feet assembled, and then you can see the actual ankle. We got a ball up to the lower leg, but we also have a hinge below it. Bottom of the feet, the heel and the ball of the feet are separate pieces, and you can see the arch is actually another piece going into the top of the foot. So I guess as per Bandai's tradition, they really like to spend a lot of parts or effort on the feet. So here you go, the feet shots. Back of the skirt, not a solar piece, but 1 meter piece and then a movable back skirt. Again, definitely not common on 1 to 144 HG. The backpack may look simple, but it is actually quite a built-in on itself. I mean, I can think of a few ways to improve its looks, but that would introduce even more parts. And I think it looks plenty good enough, especially on the thrusters. You definitely don't get thrusters looking this good, or harder to get thrusters looking this good on a HG. This definitely conveys that the 9 Gale is having powerful thrust, like a powerful backpack, but it is also simple in nature. On the arms, let's start with the left shoulders first, because they are more standard. You have a typical clamshell front and back, and then the apogee motors on the side is a separate piece like we see on NT1. So that's not super new. Then we got to the biceps, which have a separate armor piece for pretty much the bicep guard, I would say. That is something that actually wouldn't do. And then we got a separate joint for the elbow. And then forearm, not too different from Hexi to be honest, but it's definitely more of a guarantee here with the width being a separate piece. So it locked in a lot tighter than you would with a simple clamshell on a Hexi. You can also see the beam gun and beam shield here has color separation, where Hexi you probably just got the one plate on top if. Onto the right arm or right shoulder first, it is two piece, one top dome, so no ugly seam line on it, and then one on the bottom pretty much just for the pivot onto the actual shoulder. So that looks nice. The rest is the same. The beam rifle, we do have a lens sticker here, and we do have a different color for the barrel, or maybe we do have a different color for the body, because most likely we will be getting a all dark gray beam rifle these days. Still, I would say it's pretty nice overall, but the simple clamshell on it is also pointing towards something. That something I should talk about is a lot of people do describe the 9 Gale or other recent RE100 as enlarged HG, which I agree because the construction is very similar. There are a lot of details here, definitely wouldn't, or a lot more rare on HGs, even the modern ones. A lot of them is about covering the assembly lines, etc. There are a lot of very large injection ports. Yeah, let's go to the back. As you can see at the back of the legs, you got some very familiar injection ports that you'll see on HG. That is a lot less common on MG or even RG, or the older generation of RE100 as well. So, and in combination of the backpack definitely is reminiscent of a HG backpack, especially the older ones where they are still not having big deep molds for complex builds. So for a big chunky backpack like this, they really need to slide it in different parts. This definitely reminds me of the older generation of big HG backpacks. I do wonder if the D9 Gale was at some point a HGUC much like the F91, but because of all the part separations, it would probably end up more expensive, if not the same price as the F91, which wouldn't be very attractive. So they enlarge it and a bit of details that would be good for 1 to 100 and stick it to the RE100 line because I guess RE100 is for UC these days because I don't see them doing full mechanics G-Quacks anytime soon, but I could be proven wrong. Anyways, we talk about stickers. Basic stickers, the metallics, we just got the eyes and the rifle lens. But you do get a sticker decal sheet for all the warning signs as well as a couple of Crossbone Vanguard emblems. This is nice. If this is a HG 1 to 144, this would definitely get an S. But since this is a 1 to 100, with the larger scale, there are larger parts and there are some rather clearly oversized injection ports in this thing so that it doesn't come out as cleanly as it would on a smaller model. So I would have to settle on an A for style because it is a bigger model, even though size-wise, the D9 Gale being a next generation mobile suit is pretty much the same size as a Jilgog. With the improvement in mobile suit technology, they further miniaturize the miniature mechanisms of mobile suits. By the time of the Formula Gundams and the Crossbone Vanguard mobile suits, at least when they're Space Babylon, they are very small. So the 1 to 100 D9 Gale is just as big as a Jilgog cannon. So considering that, I think an A is fair, being 20 years nearer than that Jilgog cannon, larger scale. Next is action. Action isn't just the number of articulations, but also how useful those articulations are. I would say this is the strong suit of this RE100 D9 Gale. Glad that the older RE100s have this universal polycap nut. So they really only have pivots and double pivots, whereas you have seen we have ball joints here. This is the modern HG type of action. So with the head, if I can show you, there you go. The neck actually have a pivot in the middle. So instead of the typical HG with a ball on the head and torso, we also got a joint in the neck. So the 9 Gale can, well, the back is blocked by its own armor, but it definitely have a lot more play. You can turn side to side just as well. Torso, like we have been seeing, double ball joint and plenty of room to move. The arms, pretty much just modern HG, I would say, with the pivot on the shoulder and then rotation on the bicep and then a ball into the torso. Now the stock of the gun is making this a bit complex, but here we go, close enough. I do want to mention we do get the butterfly shoulder joint and we do get double joint on the elbow. Front skirt, pretty much like HG, the double ball. And the side skirt is interesting. It is on a hinge to a centerpiece, and that centerpiece is on a ball joint, so you get a lot of plate here. And then we have seen we got movement on the back skirt as well. That's excellent. And then on the thigh we got this 90-degree thigh hinge and then rotation. And then the knee is double jointed, although it is not super tight like some HG would be, but you know, period correct, I guess, for the design in the 90s. The lower leg thrusters is on a ball joint, so you can actually have it going anywhere, not just straight out. And then we have seen there's a ball for the ankle, and then actual ankle articulation as well. So even though the knee doesn't come very far, the foot can go almost straight down. And at this point, you know the drill. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. Vigna Gina is a pretty simple mobile suit. Doesn't have a lot of things hanging out here and there, so yeah, no surprise it can stand on one leg very easily. We should also try, usually this is for Gimmick, but let's try going for the front grip here. There is a bit of a hand stop at the end, so it's a bit hard to, nope. What I didn't show, what I don't usually have to show, is the excellent hand scope, even though they are simple two-parters. The hand stop pretty much gets stuck on the fingers. So this is as far as I can go without disassemble the hand, but yeah, it can easily get all the way in. Let's try to show the bicep flaps. The bicep flaps flapped it. And yeah, the double elbow also have pivots as well, although the armor would block it, so it's just a bit of addition movement that you can get without making other things loose, I guess. But yeah, be careful with that. You can definitely destroy the joints. Let's put that turtleneck back down. There we go. There we go. The 9G have a very good system of joints, and they are very useful and they are very stable. Like I said, this is not a straight up enlarged version of HG. They definitely have added some details that's only required for a 1:100 build. So for action, I will give it an S, because it is good. Next is Gimmick. Gimmick are the onboard weapons, optional weapons, and other functionalities of the mobile suit. We have seen the falcons on the head, we have seen the beam gun, and we have seen the beam shield. We also see the rifle, beam rifles, so that's all those out of the way. And then on the right shoulder, if I didn't cut that, oopsie, these missile banks can be removed as if the 9G have fired them. So it's either the whole salvo gone, or you know, all of them still inside. You can customize this, but yeah, it's not part of the kit. So still, that's a lot better than a lot of missiles. Even on some MGs, you can have color separations for the missiles, but it doesn't have a, you know, missile fired mode. I also really like the simple design. And make no mistakes, these are large missiles that just goes. Further reinforce that the Nightingale is a hit and run attack mobile suit with the one-use missile bank. The Nightingale does have beam sabers, and they are located or stored under the skirt. Actually pretty similar to F91. And as you can see, it's actually removable. There's a tab to hold it in. And that same tab is inside of the hand, so you can't really just take it out and slide in. That's why I've built my beam saber with the hand on it already. And we are just going to pull out the beam rifle and put on our beam saber, which is in a handshake grip. I guess at this point they do a bit more research into medieval martial arts, because Crossbone Vanguard or the whole F91 lines of mobile suits are designed after European medieval armors or early Renaissance armors. So yeah, they probably would have a handshake grip instead of hammer grip that you see in the earlier Universal Century. Then on to the beam shield. You're like, okay, how do we deploy it? It is a process. Okay, I just take the whole thing off. Yeah, you can take off the beam shield and just have the beam gun and a option port, which is good for customization. Even though the Nightingale isn't a particularly favorite of customization up until now, maybe, because like I said, this is the first Gunpla of the Nightingale, so you have to pop the outside off and then put on the beam effects. There you go, beam shield deployed. You will notice these two thick tabs here. They do lock into the beam shield generator or emitter, although the side ones does not. They should emit beam as well, but oh well. Good enough, I guess. Let's put the shield back on to the Nightingale. Here you go, the beam shield on the Nightingale. I'm not sure why is it interfering with the missile bank so much, or shoulder armor so much. I guess it's meant to have the armor raise up a bit. What am I doing? Of course. That's what's wrong, it's me. I am doing it wrong. It's on the ball joint. I can have it straight up. It's me who's wrong. There you go. Beam shield deployed. As you can see, it actually covers most of the Nightingale pretty successfully. So, like sure, Crossbone Vanguard doesn't consider the Nightingale to be their line and file mobile suits, but if I have a mobile suit with a large shield like this, that is beam, so there's no weight on this, and have some standard full-size armament like the beam rifle, I would call this my base infantry. But since Crossbone Vanguards have a relatively complex or romantic doctrine, the Nightingale is just considered support strafing attacking units. That's not it. Stand adapter that just slide onto the bottom of the underside of the skirt armor. Although I think a big hole would probably do, like most HG. Oh yeah, this thing is so full of action I forgot. It has actual hip rotation for the legs. So you can have the Nightingale sitting on a very natural pose. If you want one sitting rather cute somewhere, you can do that. Otherwise, standard fighting pose is cool. Crossbone Vanguard, like I said, it's very big on performance, so they actually designed these matching shoes for their mobile suits. Pretty much to protect the thrusters at the bottom, but I would imagine if Crossbone Vanguard invade Earth, for whatever reasons, they would probably deploy these shoes for their mobile suits as well. And yeah, they definitely add stability, even without evening out the foot. So yeah, gimmick wise, everything we see in F91 for the D9 gear is in the kit. And I think these shoes are not really visible in the movie. I might be wrong, but either way, that is a lot more than you would usually get in a HG. And like I said, even the missiles may not be as great as you see them in MG. Oh yeah, we got a spare beam saber blade, and unfortunately it is not sized for the beam gun or the beam rifle. Still, excellent gimmick overall. Definitely an S. Last and not least is absence. Absence are basically style gimmick actions that have been failed to represent, which it got accurate color separation, part separation, very good action. Gimmicks are great, especially with the matching parade shoes. Beam shield is definitely the gimmick of the original F91 and Victory line, so they ought to keep this. But I feel like there isn't enough extras. Sure, you got the chest color option, and again, the matching shoes are not exactly iconic, so they could have skipped it. But you can't really do much beyond the standard Dinage loadout with this kit. There are a few provisions like the beam shield attachment point, but and I guess the backpack. The backpack joint is you haven't got scope here, but there might be a universal joint for all the Crossbone Vanguard RE, but this is not enough of a kit bash provision like the standard 2 pins on HGUC, or the Wish from Mercury kits which have the 2-pin backpack system. I haven't built the full mechanics aerial yet, but we'll see. But that's a separate kit. This kit, great for what it is, but not so great for trying out more things. Now I do suspect some of the joints may be compatible with the Gun Easy / Gun Buster on Victory, like the Victory line of RE100. So, those are potential compatible but not universal like the 2 pins of the HG backpacks. Or 3mm ports all across. Definitely not having a lot of ports around like HG. Yeah, for absence, I would have to say it is Denige's weak link, but only in comparison to its other strong parts. So it's still got an A. So the verdict for RE100 XM-02 Denige is A for style, S for action, S for gimmick, and A for absence. Overall, I'm a bit sad that this is a P Bandai. I wish Bandai have a bit more faith in the RE100 line, but I am not their logistic officer. I don't know, how everything moves around. Maybe with the new P Bandai website that they pretty much pull all the international orders together, sort of. P Bandai would get a better reputation. Like early P Bandai was great because of, their premium prices slightly higher, or rather, they're sticking to MSRP. Usually in hobby stores, you can find Gunpla slightly lower on than the MSRP or at a discount after exchange, things like that. P Bandai has all of that, and it is using a fixed exchange rate, so usually a bit more expensive than your off-the-shelf standard release. But with the yen crashing, with the pandemic hobby boom, yeah, P Bandai face quite a bit of challenges. Aside from that, this is an excellent kit. I am looking forward for them to fill out the rest of the Crossbone Vanguard F91 line. Yeah, I would love to see them fill out everything else. Thanks for watching. See you next time.